right, welcome to Teal House Farm. Pat's here helping me finish the dishes because we got a project we're gonna do today.
Mommy,
Yeah, doing good.
So a friend from church gave me this big 5-gallon bucket of apples. They have apple trees on their property and they are done with, they're just over it. Done with apples. So
we have apple trees here too, but compared to most people who go to our church, we live farther south and the altitude is lower, and so the weather tends to be different, and we actually got a really late frost this spring and it killed our apple tree buds, where people who go to our church that live farther north, they didn't get that frost and their fruit trees did great. So, you know, 20 miles can make a big difference. You're so silly. So we've already done a lot of apples though this year, because remember we got a real good deal at Aldi on apples last month, and we've already made applesauce, we've already canned apple slices, I've made apple jelly, and so what I've decided to do with these apples is we're going to make freezer apple pie filling. And yes, you can help, but keep working. I gotta wash these first, and then you can help. So a couple of things with freezer apple pie filling. One, some people can apple pie filling. I think Homestead Tessie has a video on it that's pretty cool, and if I can find that video, she has a lot of videos, you guys know she is a great content creator. I'll try to link it below for you if you want, or are you interested in canning. The reason I don't can apple pie filling is the official USDA recommendation is not to can anything with thickening agent in it, so that's cornstarch or flour, because it really hasn't been well studied, and the theory is things with thickener in them, it may be difficult to get that heat uniformly all the way through the product to ensure that it's canned safely. Does that mean it's unsafe? No, it means that there's not enough data right now to prove that it's safe. And since I'm feeding a family of very small children and I'm pregnant myself, we tend to be very rule followers right now when it comes to canning, because even a slight 0.00001% chance that something could be wrong is not a risk I'm going to take, because it'll make little people extremely ill, so, and pregnant people. So that's why we're going to freeze it today. Freezing is also a great option if you don't enjoy canning or you don't have a canner. You don't need any of that special equipment. This is going to be pretty easy, and I'm going to also show you at the end 3 ways to use it. It's not just for apple pies. So first thing we need to do though is we need to wash these apples. We're going to peel them and we are going to slice them up. So let's go ahead and get started.
okay, first thing is we need to wash these apples. So I just dump them all on one side of the sink, and we're going to pull out any ones that are bad here, and we'll throw them out to the chickens and the geese and the ducks. They'll love those. Most of these are great. There's 2 kinds of apples in this barrel. One looks like a Jonathan. One, she called it a Sunny something. No, I can't remember the name is. But they look great, and these yellow ones are a really big size. So I put them back in the bucket with a flour sack towel on the bottom to catch the moisture. We are going to peel them, so I'm not going to worry about getting a new bucket. Pat enjoys playing with his dinos in the sink while I finish up. We're going to take a roasting pan and fill it halfway with water and add about a tablespoon of lemon juice. We'll put our apple slices in here, and it'll help keep them from browning too much while we're waiting to cook them. We're going to peel these apples. I am not using an apple peeler and corer because I want large chunks. I like an apple pie with big chunks of apples in it, so I don't want the thin slices that the peeler gives us. And some peelers you can make it so that it doesn't core, it just peels, but ours does both at the same time. You can't like turn off one option, so we're going to have to do this by hand. I went to 2 different stores trying to find one of those apple cutters, you know what I'm talking about, where you press it down over the apple and it cuts it into wedges, and neither store had them in stock, so we just did it by hand today. Now in the pot, we're going to add 2 cups of brown sugar, 1 cup of sugar. It's supposed to be 2 cups of white sugar, but I was short, so we did 1 cup sugar, 1 cup of the corn syrup, and it worked out just fine. To that, we add 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and we're actually going to pour in 12 cups of water, which seems like a lot, but trust me on this one. We'll mix that together, and then we'll add about 1.5 cups of cornstarch before we heat it up. Now this was for somewhere around 14 to 15 pounds of apples, so you'll need to adjust that recipe depending how many apples that you get. Now, I know it looks watery, but trust me on this one, it's going to thicken right up. So we're going to bring it to a boil, stirring all the time basically so that it doesn't burn to the bottom of the pan. I did realize that this pot I had was going to be too small once we added the apples in a bit, so we're going to trade for a bigger pot. And then we're going to get right back to stirring, and when it's almost ready, we real quick drain our apples. There, that's what it looks like. And we're going to go ahead and carefully dump in our apples. Do it slowly so that the hot molten lava in that pot doesn't splash back at you. Mix it in real good, and we want to turn it down to a simmer and just let it simmer for about 20 minutes. Mixing it probably every 3 or 4 minutes just to make sure nothing burns to the bottom. Once time's up, turn off the heat, remove the pot, and we're gonna let this cool down. We're gonna stir every couple minutes to help it cool down faster, and it's gonna take about a half an hour to cool down enough to put into bags. Here's a trick I learned. Use your canner tongs and use it to hold open your bags. We're using gallon bags today, and we're going to add about 5 cups of the mixture. We're gonna squeeze out the air. I'm gonna put these in the fridge for now. We need to freeze them laying flat, but I'm in a hurry right now.
Okay, so we're done. I finally froze the last 3, so it made 7 all together. And again, I think I had probably about 15 pounds of apples all together, and it made 7-gallon bags. Each gallon bag is enough for 1 apple pie. So obviously the easiest way to use these is for apple pie. I'm going to give you 3 other ideas of what you could use them for. The first is to make an apple dump cake in your crock pot, and this is really easy and really delicious. So what you would do is the night before, you're going to take out your frozen apples and you're going to let them thaw in your fridge, and then you're going to dump the whole bag of apples in the bottom of your crock pot. You can butter the crock pot first if you want to, or use a crock pot liner just to help keep things from sticking too much to the edge. And then you can also add in some chopped pecans or walnuts if you like that. And if you don't like those mixed textures, then just do your apple pie filling. And then on top of that, you are going to sprinkle 1 box of yellow cake mix. Don't mix it in, just sprinkle it on top. And then you'll take 1 stick of butter and chop it into the tablespoon measurements and lay those chunks of butter on top of that powdered cake mix. Again, don't mix anything together. And then put your crock pot on high, and it will do its own delicious magic. It'll make a really delicious apple dump cake. It really does mix all together by itself in the crock pot while it cooks, and it takes about 2 hours on high. You can also eat these as like Cracker Barrel style fried apples. So you can just open up, you really can just open up a bag and put it in the microwave to warm them up. I would recommend putting them in a pot and heating them all the way through in the pot. That'll help to evaporate some of the excess moisture. And then the last thing that's really easy to do is just to make like an apple cobbler or an apple crisp. And so again, take your bag out about 24 hours before you want to use it. If you forget, you can defrost it in, just put the whole bag in some hot water in your sink. But the best thing to do really is to put the bag in your fridge for about a day before you want to use it. And then you'll dump that into the bottom of a buttered 8x8 pan. And then put whatever kind of apple crisp topping you like. I like a topping that's oatmeal, just a tablespoon or 2 of sugar, some cut-in butter, and a little bit of flour, and a little bit of salt. I just cut that all together. You'll sprinkle that topping over your apple pie filling and then bake it in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes, just like a regular apple crisp, and it'll be delicious and good to go. Now, to use this for pie filling, you do, again, want to defrost it in your fridge before you use it, so it's real easy to dump out of the bag. 1 bag will make 1 deep dish pie. You can make your own pie crust, or you can be like me, who really doesn't like making pie crust because it's just not something I'm very good at or patient with, and use a pre-made pie crust, dump it in, and just bake it. So it's kind of skipped a bunch of steps for you. It'll make the cleanup really easy because everything's kind of already made. I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.